All right, today we are cracking open one of the New Testament's greatest puzzles, the second letter of Peter. I mean, this text has sparked debate for centuries, mostly because it's just so different. It's stylistically unusual and super influenced by Greek thought. So this isn't just some simple letter, it's a genuine historical cold case.
And that gets us right to the heart of the mystery. Are we reading the actual final words of the Apostle Peter? The fisherman from Galilee? Or is this a brilliant forgery, written in his name to tackle a crisis that popped up way after he was gone? Let's dive in and see if we can figure this out.
So, to really get this puzzle, we have to start with the evidence, the stuff that raised all the red flags for historians, both way back when and today. And believe me, the mystery starts with the words themselves. Okay, the very first clue is this really jarring contrast in style. On one hand, you've got 1 Peter. It feels deeply rooted in Jewish thought and tradition. But then you pick up 2 Peter, and wow, it's a whole different ballgame. The Greek language is dense, it's elaborate. Frankly, it feels more at home in a philosophical debate in Athens than a sermon in Jerusalem. The stylistic jump between the two is just massive. And it goes deeper. The author talks about salvation as participating in the divine nature. That's a concept straight out of Greek philosophy. Then they use the word Tartarus for the underworld, a term literally pulled from Greek mythology. And what's really telling is what's missing. Unlike 1 Peter, it's almost silent on the Jewish scriptures. See, this isn't just a different vocabulary. It's a totally different intellectual world. It's like it was written to persuade a new, more educated audience living in a thoroughly Greco-Roman culture. So to figure out who might have written this, we first have to understand why it was written. And this letter? It's a direct response to a profound, faith-shaking crisis that was gripping the early Christian community. You can just hear the sarcasm, right? This is the voice of the scoffers that the letter is arguing against. And their point is simple, but it's powerful. Hey, you told us the world was going to end, that Jesus was coming back. We've waited. The first apostles are dying. And nothing. The sun still rises. The sun still sets. History is just rolling on like it always has. And you gotta understand, this delay was a huge problem. The very first Christians, including the apostles, they really expected Jesus to return within their lifetimes. But as that generation started to pass away, a serious doubt began to creep in. Did we misunderstand? Was the whole promise just a mistake? This wasn't some minor theological disagreement. It was a crisis that threatened the very foundation of their faith. But where did these scoffers get their arguments? It wasn't just simple impatience. No, their skepticism was actually being fueled by one of the most popular philosophies in the entire Roman world. So let's talk about Epicureanism. This was a major philosophical system back then. For Epicureans, the whole point of life was to achieve ataraxia, basically a state of perfect tranquility. The goal was to eliminate anxiety, disturbance, and especially fear of death, and fear of unpredictable gods. Now you can see how this worldview just completely clashed with the Christian message. The Epicureans thought, if the gods are perfect, why would they ever bother with messy human affairs? In their view, the gods don't judge, they don't punish. So for an Epicurean, this idea of a fiery day of the Lord was just a superstition, a story designed to create fear, the very thing their philosophy promised to help you escape. So, you've got this powerful philosophical challenge on your hands. What do you do? Well, the author of 2 Peter doesn't just argue back. No, they present this powerful counter-vision for how to live, a kind of spiritual and ethical escape plan from a world they saw as totally falling apart. For our author, the real problem isn't the delay of the apocalypse. It's the source of the world's decay, which is internal. It's unchecked human desire. Greed, lust, ambition, that's what's fueling the ruin of the world. So the solution has to start from the inside out. And this gets us to the author's central idea. For them, salvation isn't just a single moment of belief. It's a process, a journey. What the author actually calls an evacuation route. It's a path you take away from all that corruption and towards safety in the promised kingdom. And here is that route. It's like a ladder of virtues, where each step builds on the last one. It all starts with faith, of course, but it doesn't stop there. From faith, you move to moral excellence, then to knowledge, then to self-control, which is a direct shot at that unchecked desire, then endurance, godliness, brotherly love, all the way up to agape, that boundless, divine kind of love. This is the practical, step-by-step answer to the whole crisis. And the stakes here could not be higher.
For the author, this isn't some optional self-improvement program. To ignore this path, to not climb this ladder, is to be spiritually blind. It's to forget the whole reason for your faith in the first place. It's about living a life that actually proves you belong in the kingdom you're waiting for. Okay, so with all that context, the philosophical battle, the crisis of delay, this ethical escape plan, let's circle back to our original mystery. Who on earth could have written this? Scholars have pretty much narrowed it down to two main scenarios. So on one hand, you have the Peter plus a scribe theory. Maybe Peter was the source, he provided the main message, but a super skilled secretary who was fluent in Greek philosophy and rhetoric did the actual writing. On the other hand, it could be a pseudonymous work, meaning a follower of Peter writing in his name after he died to apply his apostolic authority to these new, pressing problems. And look, both theories have their pros and cons. The scribe theory, totally plausible, using secretaries with standard practice. But still, that style difference from 1 Peter is just huge. The pseudonymity theory also fits really well with the genre of a testament, like a famous person's last words. But we also know the early church was really wary of forgeries. So there's just no easy answer here. You know, in the end, while we may never know for sure who held the pen, the purpose is perfectly clear. Whether it was Peter himself or a devoted student, the author's goal was to build a kind of theological and ethical firewall to protect the core Christian message for all the future generations they knew would have to face down doubt and delay. And that leaves us with a question that echoes from this ancient text right into our own lives. 2 Peter argues that what we believe about the ultimate future should radically change how we live in the present. It forces us to ask ourselves, what are we waiting for? And how does that waiting change who we are, right here, right now?